Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's amazing guest is Rajshree Patel. She's a mind and meditation expert and an international self-awareness coach, trainer, and speaker. Over the last 30 years, she has taught hundreds of thousands of people in more than 35 countries the power of meditation, mindfulness, breathwork, and other ancient tools for assessing the innate source of energy, creativity, and fulfillment within. She has given talks and led programs at organizations including Microsoft, Amazon, Salesforce, Lyft, NBC Universal, and the list goes on and on and on. And oh my gosh, was this the most fun interview. I just loved every moment. So let's go and say hello to Raj. Welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluheich, health coach and personal trainer, and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode that we will have a fun challenge for the month. Please also join our Facebook group, High Energy Girls. Looking forward to seeing you on the inside. Hope you enjoy the show. Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Hey, Rajshree, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, happy to be here, Tracy.
Did I say it right?
You did. That's
Yay.
great.
Well, then we're starting off with a win. Let's just go. So, for the listeners that don't know you, why don't you let us know a little bit about yourself?
So, I'm a new first-time author. Actually, I have a book coming out October 1st, The Power of Vital Force. I am Indian by background, but I was born in Uganda, raised in India for 4 or 5 years. And then because of Idi Amin, the dictator in Uganda, my father landed in New York as a refugee. I came to this country in 1973. I didn't speak actually a word of English, not reading, not writing. I was in 8th grade. I arrived here, can you imagine, from a small town in India into Manhattan of all places, That was sort of it was like going into heaven or something. Never saw so many cars or anything like that. I went on to become a prosecutor, federal prosecutor, and I left that in 1989 because I had this chance meeting with Sri Ravi Shankar, who's a spiritual master. But at the time, I wasn't seeking anything. I was this sort of super left brain lawyer working in LA, thinking I was going to a music concert. There's a sitar player, or was, he's passed away, very famous in India, same name, very common in south of India. So thinking I'm going to a music concert, I landed up in a spiritual program, a 9-hour program, and I decided to stay just kind of out of curiosity. So the universe had a hand in somehow me getting into meditation, the human development and potential business and an arena. And I just love what I do. I've been traveling all over the world to like 35 countries and spreading the message of really how to harness the power that we are born with and how to maximize our life so that we're really happy inside and thriving outside. And that's what brings you and me together.
Well, and you just brought tears to my eyes, sincerely, because I love everything you've said, and I feel like I'm on my own journey. So so how long ago did you start doing that?
So I met the master back in 1989 in
Oh.
LA. And the funny thing is, he invited me for, a little bit to say, come to India. And I thought, well, before I get settled down with, the bills and the life and the kids and the whole thing, why don't I give myself a little break? And I'll go for 2 months to India, spend a little time learning about meditation, maybe go trekking in Nepal and that kind of thing, the sort of the fun break before all the responsibilities. And I didn't come back for 5 years.
Oh, I guess you loved it.
Yeah, I just it's a matter of like really listening to your voice. I had all the noise in my head, of course, like, oh my God, what are you doing? You've been trained as a lawyer, you took out, you do this. And remember, in 1989, no one had heard of the word yoga, let alone meditation, right?
Ah.
It's a time when yoga was like some weird juju. Today it's exercise and everybody talks about it and everybody does it and it's very mainstream. But in 89, the only person who spoke about yoga was Jane Fonda. You know of her? I'm assuming.
Yeah, of course. I used to do
Yeah.
her videos when they were on
Yeah.
VHS.
Yeah, exactly. She was it. And when I would mention yoga or meditation, people thought of it as like sleeping on a bed of nails and turning yourself and twisting yourself into a pretzel. So it was certainly a journey, was not a road very well traveled, and I connected with myself and my own voice, and somehow there was also a bigger power and force involved in guiding me to a place that just opened many, many doors. And I find it to be true, certainly in my life. As I walk through one door, reluctantly or full on, another door opens, like the universe guides me and moves me forward. As I take small chances, I get more support. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Because I'm right now looking at both like two doors, and I really want to go down one, but the other one, like, I feel like I'm chained to. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I have a lot of questions for you, and I don't care what order you go in because they're both important. So I think the first one maybe is what is vital force?
So vital force is, in a very mechanical sense, it would sound as energy, but it's really vitality. It is the innate force field of dynamism that we're surrounded in. It's intelligence with energy. So if I can give you an example, like children, we're born with vital force. We could call it energy, but if you look, the steadiness, the gurgle of their sound, the warmth, the love, the connection, the acceptance, the care, all the positivity that we want in our life is synonymous to the words vital force. And it's in us and around us. We come in with it. We just forget how to tap into it and how to reboot it. So that's vital force. It's anything and everything, but it's the subatomic underneath the quantum field, which has intelligence and love and light in it as a quality.
Sounds like something we all need more of.
Yeah, definitely. We look. We charge our battery on our cell phone on a regular basis, right? Somehow or another, and we charge today our body, our mind complex through food, coffee, sugar. But that's just not enough. If you look, 80-90% of the people are running on empty. And to the show High Energy Girl, what are we really talking about? Not the sugar high and not the adrenaline and not the coffee high, but vibrant and thriving and vitality. That is the force that I'm talking about when I say vital force. And we all need it because everything, success is directly related to that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so I have done Reiki level 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done 3 different Qigong forms.
Uh-huh.
from Master Owen Wee in San Francisco. So is vital force similar to the energy, the life force that you gather through Qigong and the one that flows through you in Reiki, or is it different?
100%. It's 100% that same life force. It's just another name, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we're moving it around, like through Qigong, we call it Qi,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Right.
When we're moving it through the use of the breath, we call it prana.
Mm-hmm.
When we're tapping into it from a wider perspective, from the perspective of um, how to become a co-creator, then we call it consciousness, universal intelligence. So it's just different names, but it's that same flow of energy that we're surrounded in. And I myself have done Reiki and I was trained in it. And what I know is the moment you invite it, right? The moment you start to connect to it, you're already flowing in it. And we forget that side of us. We identify ourselves with all kinds of things, as a name, as a form, as gender, as position, all kinds of ways. But we forget that we're also this powerful force of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny because my brand High Energy Girl came about as just people's experience of me that I have a lot of energy. And that was like in 2014 when I was starting with that. And the funny thing is that my mom said, "Oh yeah, I'm really high in vitamin B naturally, and so that's why I naturally have a lot of energy." But I know, right? um, but the funny thing is, I did not know that, I started studying energy maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so interesting how that all kind of transpired. Um, so what would you say to somebody who is has no clue about how to increase this, and what types of tips would you say to get started? I heard a funny quote. It said, if you don't have 10 minutes to meditate a day, you need an hour.
Yeah, well, it's actually true. And I think to the point, it's a beautiful quote, really. We don't realize, like, let me just go back for a second. When I was a lawyer, I was doing all the things I had to do. Somehow I was getting through my day, but I wasn't really having anything left to do the things I want to do, you know?
Mm.
The job and the family and mom and health and all those kinds of things, I would somehow get through my daily routines and tasks and groceries and so on. But then at the end of the day, I was like, okay, thank God, got to go to bed. It had
Mm.
never occurred to me that had I just more energy, I could do more, not just what I had to, but what I also wanted to. So for me, that was my first wake up call that, yeah, we talk about everything is energy and everything requires energy. But the only thing I knew about energy was food, calories, coffee, sugar. And that keeps my body moving, but it doesn't keep me vibrant and thriving. So I realized that there's another kind of energy. And what I hadn't discovered, going back to your question around tips, was that breathing, as simple as it sounds, taps into, accesses this other dimension of energy that fuels not just our body, but our emotions and our mind and our cognitive function. And it's what allows us to sort of soar in our spirit. So the most basic tip I could say to a person is start to do two things: conscious breathing and elongate your breathing. Conscious because the minute you put your attention on the breath, you wake up that energy, that flow, that consciousness, that intelligence. And two, longer because the longer the breath, the more you invite it in. And this is physiology. Forget just metaphysics, but basic physiology. Every inhalation gives us not just oxygen, but energy to fuel all of ourself: body, mind, emotion, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we breathe out, we don't realize it, but we release physical toxins, CO2, lactic acid, pollution, all of that. But we also release the CO2 of the mind and the emotion, meaning stress. negative emotions, frustration, impatience, self-doubt, the yada yada self-critical voice goes down every time we exhale. We just never do it consciously, and we never do it full enough, and we haven't used or figured out how to use it as a technique. And so that, I would say, is the fastest and the easiest way. And I'll just say one last thing. When I learned to do Reiki, um, what I found is when I would do the Reiki after the breathing, the flow, my hands would be like water hoses with the faucet fully turned on, head
Yeah.
to toe, full on. It would just be like, because the breath clears all the subtle energy channels in our system.
So, how long would you do a breathing practice before doing the Reiki to experience those dramatic superpowers?
I don't think you have to do it long. So if I were to just say, like, what I do when I do Reiki to myself is I'll just, I sit quietly. I consciously invite a short pause, just 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes at the most, if that's how long it is. And what I do is I breathe as full as I can. And when I think I can't breathe anymore, I go just a little further. I sort of push the envelope. Our lungs are elastic in nature, so you can just like kind of suck in just a little bit more air. And then I very quickly release. And what that does is it pops open a lot of energy into the system and thrusts out the blocks, if you understand what I mean. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
like removing the rock off of the water hose so that the water flows fully from the faucet to the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so 10 long breaths in and out, and then waiting for maybe 5, 10 seconds, and then inviting the Reiki process, you'd see that it changes the flow of consciousness and that energy that we access in Reiki.
Wow, that's cool. How
Yeah.
often do you do Reiki on yourself?
I try to do it at least once a day, and I don't maybe go through all the points.
Mm-hmm.
But first thing when I wake up, so I have a routine, and I would really invite everybody to do this, even if they don't know Reiki, is you wake up first thing in the morning, you lie on your back or sit up if you can. Just do 10 long breaths in and out. You clean out the physical toxins, the CO2 that's sitting stale from sleeping. You also shut down the mind, which was processing. Our amygdala, our limbic brain at night is processing a lot of information. And when we have to wake up, we don't have a chance to like close it or shut it off or complete the cycle. And breathing, physiologically, that long conscious breath does a couple of things. One is, as I already said, brings in energy. On the out breath, it empties the stress from the system, but also it moves us from sympathetic stress amygdala response to parasympathetic calm relaxation response. And the moment we relax, we open up all the channels for that energy to flow through. So I do 10 long breaths in and out, and then I let my awareness drift, maybe 5, 10 seconds in my own body. And then naturally, I let the hand move. Maybe I'll do 3 different spots in terms of Reiki, maybe 2. And depending on the time, I might do even longer. But every morning, I do that as a habit. And I really invite people to do at least the breath. And even if they're not aware of the Reiki techniques, just to put your hand on your chest in that moment of silence with this notion of it's a new day. Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just that invitation up levels the energy, that surge of the force, as you say in Qigong, or as you do Reiki, or as we call it, Qi or prana through the breath.
Okay. And how long does that process take you, like in the morning, about just on average?
I probably take about 3 to 4 minutes, not much longer than that. Sometimes just 3 minutes, and then I get going and I start my day.
So we all have 3 minutes. Like, how awesome is that to be able to start your day just take that extra 3 minutes to open up those energetic channels.
Completely. We are a electrical system. Body's electric. Our brain is electric. It functions on, the communication between neurons and synapse, and we don't do anything about it. And the thing is, as you said, if you don't have 10 minutes to meditate in a day, you need an hour. Why? Because there's so many files open in our hard drive, in our brain. And I really love the metaphor around a computer. Oftentimes it happens to me when I'm working on my computer. I have a file that I'm working on, but in the background, I might have 10 or 15 files open that I had,
Yeah, I know.
yesterday or a week ago or something. I've actually even forgotten which files are there. But and I know it's slowing down my computer, the file that I'm working on now. It's slowing down, the whole hard drive. And if I don't have enough battery, enough fuel in my system, then it's going to slow down the file I'm working on, but potentially creates a crash in the computer if there's so many files open. And so we don't do that. That 10-minute of meditation is a way of shutting down the extra files so you can be right here, right now, with the file that you need to work on. And the moment you shut those extra files, guess what? All that energy, all that prana, that chi, that vital force is now available for you to be more present to what's in front of you. And to come at it with optimism, because that force is optimism itself. We're born with enormous amount of chi, and our nature is love and light as children. That's who we are.
Yeah. And how does that get lost? What happens?
Well, I don't think it gets lost. I think it gets covered. So nobody teaches us how to really let go, right? We let things go over time. If something unpleasant happens, like a week ago or 10 days ago, maybe you have a disagreement with a colleague or a boss or a spouse or something, it kind of takes us time to let it go. It goes into the background because either something else unpleasant happens, or over time we just kind of drop it. But we don't actually drop it. Those are the energy blocks. It goes and sits in our cell, in our memory somewhere. And over time, that kind of covers our essence, our true nature of joy and love and light and meditation, breathing, qigong, all these different tools and techniques that are there clear the debris. It's kind of like, the cloud that was in front of the sun. The sun is never lost. It's just temporarily covered. And there are so many easy ways to move the cloud away from our own light.
Okay, well, I am an open book and very anxious to hear about some of those ways.
So one is intentionality, right? I think that listeners must know there's so much, for instance, conversation out there around epigenetics, meaning if you practice gratitude, you have a certain kind of lifestyle. If your mindset is positive, you really change the way genes express. If you have some disease, a genetic propensity, it doesn't have to express itself. So similarly, if we put intentionality towards our own identity, we really start to expand. We start to see ourselves not as limited beliefs or assumptions, but more than that. And so, yes, I'm a woman. Yes, I'm from India. Yes, I was a lawyer. Yes, now I do this. There are all these different identities. But we never really take 10 seconds to say, I'm also more than that. Just that intentionality. Look, if we ask anybody in the world, the most successful people, and I work with so many people, and if I say, are you living your full potential? they'll say no, because who we are inside is far bigger than our achievements. Our potentiality is so much more than we've ever tapped into, but our limited voice, identity gets in the way. And so I tell people on a daily basis, I do it really just after I finish brushing my teeth, morning and evening, as I, kind of splash the water on my face. I look in the mirror. I look past my features, meaning I'm not looking at how I look. I'm just sort of gazing at my eyes for a moment. And as I do that, I see that I'm not my eyes. I'm looking through the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm this, like, if I look at my eyes, it's hard to see both the eyes. Yet something moves inside a little left and right without the pupils moving, without my head moving. And suddenly I connect to, wow, I'm not just this body. I'm not this shell. I'm actually looking through the eyes, kind of like when you go to Disneyland and you see that cardboard, like an astronaut with the face cut out, and you stick your face in, and then you take a picture.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
One of those things. I get a clear sense that, yes, this body is beautiful, and I'm housed in the body, and what's housed there is light, and it's energy. It's a split second thought. It takes 10 seconds maybe. It's not about time. It's not sitting there staring or gazing. But if you just invite yourself to do it every day, morning time, and at night, you brushed your teeth, you washed your face, you look one more time, and then you enter sleep like that, you know what happens? We start to connect to it as a reality. So my center of identity shifts from just being this limiting thing to, oh, I'm potentiality and anything is possible. Mm-hmm. And that shifts a lot. It's a conscious neuroplasticity shift that happens in our body and our mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. I heard this thing that said your eyes are a window to your soul. Mm-hmm. And by like just gazing at yourself and loving yourself, because I'm a health coach, so I work with women who want to transform their bodies. And one thing I learned is that in order to complete a transformation, you have to love where you're at so you can raise your vibration. And therefore, when your vibration is high, you're able to achieve what you want.
100%. I couldn't say it better, really. Your eyes are the windows to the soul. And we're made up of, to use your word, vibration, right? Meaning our vibe is louder than our words and our actions and our deeds. And we never really connect to it that way. If we can see ourselves, love ourselves, and the positive emotions of love, acceptance, care, connection, kindness, gratitude, these are all very high vibrational emotions. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And self-doubt, the critical voice, the I'm not enough, or this sense like I got to fix things in myself, there's something wrong with me, are all things that generate emotions that are very low hertz or low frequency. Then we no longer are in charge of creating the life we want, whether it's body or mind or some outer success. Then it governs us. The low vibe pulls us downward. And so self-acceptance is really what you're saying. You've up-leveled your vibration, and that invites that life force, that energy, to support you to make the change you want. You, in fact, become a co-creator.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Like I said, I'm so obsessed with this whole, quantum physics and energy, and just, they had a study that they had these protons. I don't know if you heard about this, but protons in a petri dish in China, and then they, flick one or whatever, and it changes its vibration and all the others join in. Well, they took the protons, they were all the same, they sent one out to outer space, they changed the vibration out in outer space, and the ones left on Earth still changed their vibration similarly.
100. It's to me, this is so fascinating. I eat
I
this stuff
know.
up, really. Because what are we made up of? Our bodies are made up of electrons and protons, right? We don't see it that way, but everything is molecular and atoms, and underneath the particle is the quantum particle, right? Everything. It's trillions and trillions of these little tiny little guys make our body. And obviously, if two protons, one shot in outer space and one that's sitting in a petri dish, immediately respond to the same, in terms of space and time and distance, there isn't any kind of a difference. So our intentionality, actually, our attention that is positive on ourself changes the molecular structure, meaning at the atomic level. Of course, scientists still debate this. They say it's only particle at the molecular level or at the atomic level, but not on the more gross physical levels. And my argument always is, but we are made up of that. The
Exactly.
you know.
And you know what I think is so fascinating is that I heard that if you take a bunch of subatomic particles and you put them in a petri dish, there's wide gaps in between each particle. And so, like if you were to take an atom and you shine like a really high-powered microphone or microscope to see the subatomic particles of that atom, that most of the space in that atom are gaps, and that is where the energy is. Does that
Yeah,
sound right?
yeah, yes, yes. Oh my God, we have to meet somewhere in person when I'm
Yes.
there in North Cal. But absolutely, absolutely, because I talk a lot about this kind of science and explain how it relates back to our life in the book. But see, there's more space than there is matter on the planet. We don't really quite realize it, and in that space is this energy, is this intelligence. And if I were to talk about it, just to stick on the science perspective for a moment, the theory of Big Bang is there was a bubble, and in that bubble there was energy. So my question is, well, where did that energy come from in the first place, unless it was always there? So there was energy in this
Mm.
bubble,
Hmm.
and this energy was dynamic, active, and it was so active that the bubble exploded. And when it exploded, what it spread was what was in the bubble, this energy, this dynamism. But the interesting thing is, it's not a mechanical energy, it's an animate, loving, intelligent force. How do we talk about it? Obviously, I can't prove it. But just because you can't prove something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But if you look at science with Big Bang Theory, it says that energy burst, it was there, and from that energy came matter.
Hmm.
Came earth and water and fire and amoebas and protozoa and trees and whatever. Eventually, human beings. How did this energy evolve to matter, to mammals, to a complex being such as you and me? It's constantly expanding. This energy has intelligence in it. Big Bang Theory says life is continuously expanding, and we, as human beings, are constantly evolving in consciousness, in awareness. And if we have the awareness that, yes, I'm this body, yes, I'm also this and that, but I'm also this intelligence, this energy, at the core of me, I'm whole and I'm perfect. You know what happens? We change our vibration.
Hmm. Hmm.
We change how we resonate.
You know what's really interesting is that so one of my sons, the one that lives down there by you,
Uh-huh.
Nick is really a huge Star Wars fan, and he was home. I want to say I don't know recently, maybe 2 months ago, and he was watching one of the Star Wars films. When do you have you seen Star Wars?
I'm such a fan.
Okay,
Such a huge fan.
so do you remember the scene that Luke and Yoda are in the swamp and Yoda is trying to,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So for the listeners that don't know, it is episode 6. I think it's Return of the Jedi. And Luke's X-Wing sunk into the swamp. And Luke's like, well, we're never going to get it out now. And Yoda says, so certain are you? Always with you, it cannot be done. Hear you nothing that I say? And anyways, they go back and forth. But Luke, or Yoda, is trying to get Luke to use the Force, which he explains as being the energy that surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you everywhere. And then he says, Luke says, you want the impossible. And he gets frustrated and walks away. And Luke says, I don't believe it. And then Yoda says, well, that is why you fail. And that was from 1983. And they were talking about this. So it must be true. It was in Star Wars.
Yeah, and Kung Fu Panda and in Matrix. And I don't know how many other ways this conversation has been brought to the mainstream world. It's thousands of years old. Acupuncture is entirely a system around moving the channels of energy around to heal. And I don't know, what does it take to really realize that, wow, I'm moving in an ocean that has more than just what I see and feel. It's like the fish in the ocean. The life of the fish is in the fish and in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the ecology, right?
Yes. And it's the same is true for us. Our life is in us and around us. It's this force field that binds us, that holds us together, that keeps the cosmos perfectly aligned. Because can you imagine if we left it to human beings, we'd move everything just one tiny centimeter and it would all implode.
Oh, yeah. It's so crazy because there's this thing that we're all interconnected. No man's an island, and everyone is joined in some way. And yet people are always just going against each other and fighting and sparring and angry. And, I do teach yoga. You probably didn't know that. And
no,
one of the things I teach is as soon as they start, we always start in Shavasana. And it's all about just preparing your body to receive the yoga. And on the inhale, I say inhale love and joy, peace, patience, kindness. And then exhale, anger, resentment, strife, all of like lack of self-confidence or whatever. Just like I'm just, using organic words, obviously. But it's all about that releasing and just loving yourselves in the moment so that you can go out and love other people more effectively.
But you see, you said exactly what I'd said earlier, which is the way nature has set it up is when you breathe in life. Mm-hmm. I don't mean just the act of being alive, but I mean life as in love, joy, enthusiasm, acceptance, patience. Mm-hmm. That is the force, right? The quality of this thing called the force reflects itself, what we know it as love and joy and happiness and enthusiasm, like the baby, Mm-hmm. Even the character of Yoda, you see that they show him this beautiful childlikeness quality, simplicity, innocence, and clarity, all of it together. That's how we're born. And when we breathe out, the universe has set it up. In that exhale, we release what doesn't support that force. When I say that force, I'm saying the love, the joy, and you use the words, the organic words like greed and frustration and impatience and agitation. That is the stuff that doesn't work for us. That is the low hertz, mm-hmm. the vibe. And we don't know how to use it. And really, breath and Qigong and on all these different things and the idea of connecting to it raises the frequency. You first must acknowledge that we are moving in that ocean of force, to Yoda's point to Luke Skywalker,
Yeah, the more we get it. I mean, I'm hoping that with people like you and your upcoming book and your class and everything that you're doing to teach people, that it will become more and more mainstream. People need to learn this stuff just to have a happier world and a happier internal self, mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. I know that your book is coming out. When is that?
So it comes out October 1st. It's just a couple weeks away, really.
Okay, cool. And is it like just on all your regular channels?
Yeah, actually, people can go to thepowerofvitalforce.com. That's my website. They'll see links there as well. But you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and so on and so forth. And can I just make an offer to all the listeners?
Oh, of course.
If the book had been pre-ordered, it comes with an 11 session online course that I'm leading and guiding the listeners through with tools and techniques and wisdom and this sort of understanding. And what they have to do is just go to thepowerofvitalforce.com, show their receipt, and they will get this online course. They'll be invited to join. It's 11 sessions, really amazing. But just in case, if the listeners are listening and, it's past October 1st, if they just go to that website, The Power of Vital Force, and just say that they're, coming from the High Energy Girl and send the receipt, I'll be happy to send the 11 sessions to them.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to definitely pre-order it because I love hearing from you. And so that sounds awesome. I think everybody could use a little bit more of that. So can I just ask you a few more questions about you personally?
I would love to.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite practices? Like, do you meditate every day?
I absolutely meditate every day. Even if I can't sit for a long time, I take what I call meditation pauses. And that simply means even while I'm in motion, I bring my awareness to myself, either into my body. Maybe it'll be my belly. Sometimes it's, just my chest. Sometimes my feet. Like I actually move my toes around in my shoes. And what that does is instead of all the attention outside, some of it pulls back in. And then I will take 3 breaths. So that's what I call a meditation pause. But I do that every day in activity, wherever I need it. But my mornings begin with some kind of a meditation, 10 minutes or so, if nothing more.
Do you do it organically on your own or do you use a certain app? I've used that app Calm.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I actually do mantra meditation. One of the things around meditation that I love to share with people is some meditations build, gray matter, meaning decision-making, rational, frontal cortex, and some other meditations bring brain coherence, meaning allow you to transcend all the mental activity. And I'm quite a strong advocate for that. That's actually what I teach, self-transcending meditation. It's quite like TM. Obviously, the big difference is the way I teach it and where I guide them. And I love Calm. I love Headspace because it gives a lot of value to people who don't know anything. The only thing is I find it's over customized. What traditional meditation wasn't meant to be, you do this for that situation and another thing for another situation and then a third thing that, now I can't sleep, so let me try a different one. No. Meditation is the act of quieting the system, consciously allowing the system to settle down. And there was just 1 or 2 different ways to do it, and you can use it anytime. So you don't have to over customize. It's kind of like the modern world, which takes anything and turns it towards consumerism. Not that there's no value to it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it doesn't need to be so over customized. Again and again, I will tell people, if nothing else, take 10 or 12 long, deep breaths in and out, and you'll notice that you're sliding into meditation. Just give yourself the permission to sit there a few moments.
And you know what? I heard that when you do a breathing exercise, that literally when a person's trying to lose weight and they're releasing body fat, a lot of it comes out of their breath. So
it's true.
There's extra motivation.
Yeah. The O2 and the CO2 exchange already changes the metabolism at some level. It's what exercise does, right?
Yeah. And do you have plants? Do you keep plants in your bedroom so that you have that the oxygen release from your plants?
I do. Nature actually gives you a lot of vital force. That's why you'll notice, like if you're driving and you lower the window by the beach, as you're driving past the ocean, you suddenly feel a lot of those negative ions that prana energy boosts, or if you're in like Yosemite or some nature. So absolutely. You know what else is super great? Is walking barefooted on grass, that too first things in the morning when there's still dew on it. It not only grounds you, but it recharges. It gives you a certain bioenergy, vitality in the system.
It's putting in the negative ions, right, from the
Yeah.
grass?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
same as the beach. And oh my gosh. Okay, when you come to the Bay Area, you've got to let me know because we could
Yes.
just go to lunch, have fun. I could talk to you forever.
Me too. Me too. I will for sure.
It's so fun to be able to talk to people that understand. Like most of my friends think I'm a complete nerd, you know?
Yes. I understand. I know.
That's awesome. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. If there's anything that you'd like to leave the listeners to chew on, feel free to go ahead and add that. And is there
I
anything
guess
extra?
Well, I guess what I would just tell people is to just go for it. Really, you have nothing to lose. Close your eyes, few moments a day, and connect with yourself. The more you want to do, the more you need to connect back to you, the inner essence of you. So I
Mm-hmm.
just wish everybody the best. And I'm so happy we had the chance to connect.
Oh, me too. Me too. Thank you for coming on today and I'm sure you have a busy schedule, so I appreciate you, taking the time to come in on the show and educate our listeners.
Same here. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I'm so excited that she's going to come up here and I get to meet with her. Did you just learn so much? She had so much wisdom to share, and I really hope that you take advantage of her special offer and go and grab her book and get her special training. If you like the show, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes so more people can find it. I'm so happy to be back in the trenches, and our focus is going to be on helping women to age younger. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for listening. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.